Okay, in this scene I'm going to set up the lighting and backdrop that we created in a previous scene. I'm going to import those in, and as you can see here, I've duplicated my character. Actually, what I did is I had my finished scene for my Walkcycle. I saved it, and then I did a save as. I called it another name, and then I imported that in here. So I actually called it, gave it the same name, _alt for an alternative view. So here's the original one. This is the imported one. So I just imported a whole entire scene instead of duplicating the character because it has too many things like the skin clusters that are attached to it. So it was a little easier for me to just do save as, come under File, Import, and then I went there and grabbed this and just imported that save scene file, brought it in, separated the two, and on the main controller here at the bottom, which did not have any keyframes. If it did, I think it was just on frame 0. At frame 1, I positioned this one, set a keyframe, as you can see right here. And on this one over here, I did very much the same thing. Went to frame 1, positioned it at about a 3/4. Let's see, does it look, probably looks better like that. Maybe we'll have him walk like that. And hit S on the keyboard. And now that I play the scene, there it goes. We can see it from a couple different angles here. It's nice to have the side view. The viewer can really kind of evaluate what's going on to see if you're getting the key poses. And this angle is nice, of course, too, to just kind of see what it looks like at a 3/4 perspective. Okay, I'm just going to stop that. Let's go ahead and import our backdrop and lighting scenario, the 3-point lighting, under Import. And I've got that out in my Maya scene right there. I'm going to import that, continue. Everything just dropped in there nicely. I can back out here and take a look at it. So I've got my backdrop. I can see my lights are right here. We may have to bring those down a little bit. They might be sitting a little high, especially this fill light. I'm going to hit T, bring this down a little bit just to fill those guys in a little better. And might bring this one down a little bit too. Actually, I'll leave it up there. I don't want to have too big of cast shadows going on the floor. So let's frame this up here. I just kind of bring it straight on. Give them enough room. Let me just check their motion here. Okay, I'm just going to back out a little bit more. Give them a little bit more room. Slide it over just a little. That looks about right. Okay, I'm going to save this. Save scene as. So this is my basic Walkcycle. I'm going to call this light. And say save to that. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up our render settings. We want to make sure we're on Maya software for this setup and not on Arnold. I've already got my frame range in here. Let me show you how to do that. So we want to make sure we're outputting JPEGs. And under frame, it usually defaults here as single frame. We want to switch that over to name, number, extension. And then down here, it probably says 10, like that. You want to go ahead and put your frame range in there as 33. Okay. Everything else should be good. We're using the perspective camera. Make sure it's on HD 720 or above. You can take it up to 1080 if you want to do that. These render pretty quickly, so if you want to do 1080, that's fine. You want to make sure under your Maya software tab, you've got highest quality set. Everything else looks pretty good here. And of course, we want to have ray tracing turned on. Okay. Let's go ahead and close that out. Let's save the scene again. I'm going to open up my render view. There's a previous attempt at rendering. I'm going to just bring that down here so you can see that. Okay, and we'll go ahead and render it. Okay, so that's rendering pretty quickly. We're going to have to make a few adjustments to the lighting. It is coming in a little bright. And we can see we have some pretty long cast shadows here on the ground. I'm going to make a couple adjustments here. So let's just go ahead and push this off to the side. And I'm going to bookmark my camera. I'm just going to select the perspective camera. That's what we're using here. We should actually go ahead and just set up a render cam and be thorough with this. So create cameras, camera. That's our camera right there. We want to look through it and pull back. It's right in the center. Let's push this over to the side. Make sure we've got our view on. Just check it again. Okay, that looks good. All right, so we've got our camera set up. I'm going to just take it back to frame 1. I'm going to make sure I've got the camera 1 selected. I'm going to call this render cam. And I'm going to hit S on the keyboard. It's going to set a keyframe in case I bump that by accident. I'm going to go back to my perspective camera and I'm going to make some changes to the lighting. So I'm going to turn down the overall intensity. Let's bring up the attribute editor. It's right there. I think I'm going to bring that down to 8. I'll bring this one down to maybe 3000. And our rim light, or key light rather, I'm going to select that and bring that down to 8 as well, 8000. And let's set this up to render with our render cam. Take a look at that. Okay, I think the rim light's probably wrapping too much. That's part of it. I'm going to just hit escape, grab this, pull it over more to the back. It's just wrapping around a little too far. It's probably a little too intense still. Let's bring it down to 6. And let's take the key light, bring it up a little higher. Okay, let's try that out. Let's render that again. Okay, that's starting to look better. So I still think we can actually bring these down a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and take this down to 6. I'm going to cut this down to 4. I'm going to take the fill light down because it's not really working as a fill light right now. Let's take it down to about 2. And let's see how that does. Okay, that's looking better. We're not really seeing too much of a rim light on the guy here on the side view, but that's actually okay. It kind of looks nice just over here on our 3/4 view. I could separate this and create another light and just set it up and light link it to this. I think I kind of like it without. It looks good just here on the 3/4. And I think the 3/4 one, I'm going to go back to my frame 1. And I think I'm just going to rotate him a little bit more. Just like that. Okay, grab this. I'm just moving that slightly, and I might bring it up just a little bit. Maybe it will wrap around on the head just slightly. Okay, and the fill light, let's bring that a little bit more to center. Okay. We're not really going for dramatic lighting here. We're kind of just going for selling what it is we're looking at, which is the Walkcycle. Okay, let's render that. All right, I think that looks good. The background, you can leave it gray. You can give it a color if you want to do that. So right now it's just a gray. If you want to warm it up, darken it down. I can do a snapshot of that and the buffer and just make a comparison here, see which one I like. I think I like it darker. It has a nice little kind of silhouette to it, a little stronger silhouette, and it also it kind of minimizes the shadows here. We could go in and lift those shadows up if they're too dark. We could select the key, and there's our key. Here's the shadow color. We could always bump it up a little bit. I don't typically do that. It's not necessarily realistic, but I think in a case like this where we don't want a lot of attention on shadows, we really want to just focus on the motion of the character. That already looks better. Maybe even like that. Alright, so we see it making contact, but it's not real noticeable like this one over here. Let's just go ahead and render that. Okay, I think that looks nice. There's characters making contact with the ground. We can see the shadow there, but it's not drawing our attention away from the character. Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to go ahead and save my scene, and I'm going to set off a batch render. I'm going to select rendering, and under render we've got batch render that we can use. We can also use render sequence. Batch render will work fine with the Maya. Batch render will work fine with Maya software. One more thing we want to check. We just want to make sure we know where this is writing out to. So it's going into a different project here where I don't want it. So I want to come under here and set my project window. I want to make sure I'm rendering it into my Walkcycle. So if I set that, yeah, that automatically changed it right there. So this is the directory path. It's going into my project folder for Walkcycle. If you haven't created a project folder and you're just working on your Maya scene, you want to come under here and create a project window. Name it like this. Probably save it to the desktop, and then come in and set your project folder. It's important here because if you don't set it, Maya's going to write out your images to another directory. Okay, and you want it to write out to the project folder here. It's actually going out to images in that project folder. Okay, so we should be good here. We'll go under render, say batch render, and we can open up our script editor, drag that over to the side, open up the window, and this is going to tell us kind of what's going on with our render. So right now it's just loading it up. There's the scene, there goes the first frame. So let me open this up a little bit more. So we can see the directory path that it's writing it out to. We can see which frame number we're on right here. This is the percentage done. So it just completed the first frame in pretty good time. Yeah, I'm just sort of guessing here, but it feels like it's taking about 20 seconds a frame. Okay, you can go out to your project folder. In my case, I'm in Documents, Maya projects, project folder, and there they are. They're writing out. So just double check to make sure. So I can already see right here that I have them set up incorrectly. So if you've got an issue, you definitely want to come in here when your render starts off and just double check and make sure that everything is looking correct. In my case, it's not. So you can cancel the batch render. Say yes. It'll stop the render there. And apparently I had this window closed down differently. I think it's because I'm writing out this 1280. Okay, I can see it now. Alright, let's just get these windows out of the way here. Yeah, I can see them in there. So I need to actually go through the render cam and set those up. Close this down. And let's go ahead and kick the batch render off. It'll write over those frames. So right now it's just loading up the Maya file, setting up to render in Maya software. And here comes frame 1. Okay. Alright, so that just finished. And that looks better. Okay, so this is what I was after. Alright, so I'll let that finish rendering and we'll come back in the next lesson and we'll import the 1 through 33 sequence into After Effects.